Yes, one from Raytech. And is that what we're talking about? One of them was from Raytech and the other one was from
Exana.
Right.
Texana. And does your recommendation include, does your motion include the hiring of a specific attorney or law firm?
I think that the motion would continue to say that we leave the research for the best litigation people to the superintendent and his representative on this particular project.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Roll call vote, please.
Rose Thompson, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Mike Peoples, yes.
Ernest Chambers, yes.
And I vote yes, so the motion passes unanimously. And Mr. Anderson, you're authorized to move forward with the retention of counsel, which hopefully will be the same for both pieces of litigation.
Okay.
Okay. We will now go back to action item D, consideration of and possible action regarding the approval of RMA Category 1 services, data transmission and/or internet access, voice, and Category 2 services, internal connections, contracts for E-rate funding year 2021, which is from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Mr. Tanton?
Yes. So, annually, RMA looks at our telecommunications contracts, internet contracts, as well as our technology support contracts. We do this through or with the help of ESC 12. ESC 12 handles all of the E-rate funding for school districts in the state of Texas, and it's their responsibility to go out to bid for these contracts. They analyze the bids that come in, make recommendations, and then review the contracts before we bring them to the board. This year, we have quite a few contracts to come forward to the board. Most all of our internet contracts are up this year. Beginning on page 209, we would be looking at the contract for AT&T. This contract would serve 8 of our campuses, and on page 215, you would see the amounts that would service these campuses. $440 for the Midland campus. That would be the monthly rate for the internet access, and so on and so forth. These we actually, when we bid these things in AT&T won, I'll just note that they actually came in at $600 and some change, but because we actually already have the hardware in place, we did not need to add that piece to this. So it actually reduced to $440. The AT&T contract plus the Spectrum contract, which is on page 223, both of these would be reimbursed by E-rate at 90%. So the way we normally do that is we make the payments, and at the end of the year, they reimburse us 90% for these services. Just to let you know, because it's a COVID year, they're basing these numbers either off of your snapshot economically disadvantaged numbers from the last school year or this school year, depending on which was better. Our numbers were better last school year, so they are funding this at 90% based on those numbers. If you go down to page 228, there is a a contract for Xerox. Once every 5 years, RMA has the ability to upgrade our network infrastructure through the E-rate program. This contract would allow us to replace our switches, access points, and those items that actually run our network. This bid was actually won by Xerox, and these are considered category 2 services, and they would be reimbursed at a fee of 85, or at a percentage of 85%. On page 230, there's another contract for Bazaar Solutions. Bazaar Solutions handles the kind of the day-to-day running of the network. They handle the break fix on all of our computers. They were very instrumental in helping us get all of our computers set up so that we could check them out to students. We've been very fortunate that we've had these contracts in place in the past, because we've gone into this COVID situation, and the expense to RMA has been minimal because of these. So with that said, if we go back to page 207, I would ask that the board approve the contracts as presented by RMA staff, with the assistance of ESC 12s as our E-rate consultants for the 21-22 school year.
Is there any discussion, or does any board member have any questions? If not, the chair would entertain a motion.
Ernest Chambers, I move to approve the E-rate contracts with AT&T, Spectrum, Dayhill, and Bazaar Solutions for RMA Category 1 services, data transmission and/or access, internet access, voice, and Category 2 services, internet connections for E-rate funding year 2021, parentheses 7/1/2021-6/30/2022, parentheses closed.
Is there a second?
Rose
Mike
Thompson.
Peebles, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Rose Thompson, yes.
Mike Peebles, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Ernest Chambers, yes.
And I also vote yes, so the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5I, approval of Paycheck Protection Program, PPP application, presented by Tammy Padilla.
Good afternoon. In January of this year, the Small Business Administration released a second round of PPP applications that small businesses could apply for that were experiencing hardships due to the coronavirus pandemic. The purpose of this loan, as it was rolled out, is to assist businesses with payroll, rent, utilities, or additional operating expenditures. Since during the 2020-2021 year, we budgeted for an ADA of 1503, and we are currently at an ADA of 1208 in March. We believe that applying for the PPP loan would be advantageous to RMA at this time. The exact parameters for the forgiveness of this loan have not been rolled out, but we've been made to believe that if the PPP loan is used for payroll, it is likely to be forgiven by the Small Business Administration. Based on the PPP calculator that was rolled out with the application, we are eligible to apply for $2 million of funding. This funding would be used to pay for any of our state-funded staff that we currently have coded to the fund code where our ADA is low. So we would use that to supplement that fund and then free up some of those dollars to pay for some additional instructional items if need be. On page 232 is a resolution. If you should decide to proceed, a resolution indicating that Ms. Bender, along with Mr. Anderson, may proceed with the loan by signing all of the documents and executing them on behalf of RMA. Does
Just so
anyone
the
have-
board, just so the board will know, the resolution was that drafted by Frost Bank and sent to us. And so we used the exact resolution sample that was provided to us from Frost Bank.
I have one question.
Yes.
With we got the 2 million. Is there a cap on or what we must use to match or anything like that? Or is it we could use 100%, or do we have to spend a certain part of our personnel funds before we qualify for the 2 million?
If we receive the entire $2 million, we can spend that on payroll, utilities, rent, or additional operating expenditures.
Okay.
On another note, Tammy, have you had any information, received any information on the American Rescue Plan and the accessibility of those funds and whether or not they'll also cover payroll?
I don't believe that they are outlined for payroll. I've not looked at them in detail as much as I've spent looking at this. But I know that there is some information out there. I'd have to see if we're eligible for both.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion by board members? If not, then the chair would entertain a motion.
Rose Thompson, I move that the board authorize to proceed with the application for the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP.
Is there a second?
Mike Babel, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Rose Thompson, yes.
Mike Babel, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Mr. Chambers, you're on mute.
Okay, now Ernest Chambers, yes.
And I also vote yes, so the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 5J, adoption of a board COVID-19 emergency declaration resolution number 3 to be presented by Mr. Anderson and Mr. Chanton.
Okay. As you know, on March 2nd, Governor Greg Abbott issued an executive order basically removing the mask mandate and allowing businesses to open up 100%. And so it was TEA guidance that gave school districts, put it back in the laps of the local schools and the boards to decide what their mask mandate would be for the district. And so, with several people recommending that we take a resolution to the board basically to adopt our policy as a district, what we will do for our guests, visitors, students, and staff. And so it is my recommendation, along with the safety team, that we continue to require masks for all visitors, all staff, and students to continue the masking mandate. And not only that, however, if you recall, back at the beginning of the year, we stood up the back to school plan, which talked about all of the social distancing and those specific policies and procedures. And so we're asking the board to not only adopt this resolution just to require masks, but we're also asking the board to adopt this resolution supporting and standing behind the district in that we will also continue to enforce the COVID-19 safety protocols and procedures that we've outlined in the back to school plan. Now that back to school plan is closely aligned with the CDC and TEA guidance as far as so it's constantly being updated to reflect the latest changes from the CDC and other state and federal agencies. And so that's basically what this resolution entails. And this is what we're asking the board to adopt, in that we will continue to enforce the back to school COVID-19 policy and procedure plan, and will require all visitors, faculty, staff, and students to wear masks on school facilities and properties of the district.
I have a couple of questions. One is, when was the most recent updating of the back to school plan?
So the back to school plan was just updated within the past month. There were some new rules that came out from
CDC?
CDC and TEA regarding the fact that vaccines have been introduced into the mix. And so there's some changes that went into the plan that require or allows teachers who have already been vaccinated and they've already been past the two weeks since the last since the second vaccine or the last vaccine, and that they should be fully covered by the vaccine. It allows them to continue to work and come to school even if they come in close contact with someone who has been exposed, or someone who actually has tested positive to COVID-19. So it's very recent. We look at this on a weekly basis to make sure that nothing new has come out that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. The second question I have is, have you had any pushback from students, parents, visitors, or staff about the mask requirement?
None that I'm aware of. Carl, are you?
No, I've encountered nothing along those lines.
Are there any principals on that have had any resistance that they would care to share, or? I'm not aware of any, Ms. Bender.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Odessa.
Are there any other questions or any additional discussion?
I heard Ms. Jansen trying to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear her.
It's okay. I was just going to comment that actually I've had a couple of students ask us to continue the mask. So there's not any resistance in Odessa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jansen.
Is there any additional discussion, or does any board member have any questions? If not, then the chair would entertain a motion.
Rose Thompson. I move that the board approve the resolution authorizing the superintendent to adopt the COVID-19 emergency declaration resolution number 3.
Mike Peebles, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Rose Thompson, yes.
Mike Peebles, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Ernest Chambers, yes.
And I also vote yes, so the motion passes unanimously. The last action item on the agenda is 5K, adoption of a board resolution authorizing Uri storm-related missed school days and other waivers, presented by Mr. Anderson.
All right, so if you all recall, we had a week of kind of fair weather back in February, so to speak, and it caused the schools to, campuses to, it caused a disruption in the normal procedures of the school operations. And so basically TEA gave 6 waiver days. Has Jim made it on? Becky,
Yes,
is Jim on?
Yes, sir, he is.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask that you go ahead and explain the process, since you've been the one working with it, the 6 waiver days and the other and missed and all of that. Would you please?
Okay. Let me pull up my information.
Well, if you explain it, they have the sheet and we'll go over which campuses and everything.
Jim, do you need co-host access?
No, I'm there. And the winter event began February 15th. Actually, for a couple of our campuses, it began the Thursday before that week. And so according to the waivers that are provided by TEA, we can either file an other waiver, and that's based on our remote asynchronous instruction, or a missed school day waiver, where there was no instruction provided at all. And so for the beginning of the week, starting February 15th, those we did offer remote instruction, and we looked at the attendance, and the principals concurred that their attendance was sufficient, that they didn't need to switch it to a missed school day. So we're filing other waivers for those days. And the attendance that is in place at that time that's already entered into our student information system will provide the attendance for that day. And the rest of the week, because of the power outages and the water issues, those were asynchronous instruction wasn't provided. So those will be listed as missed school days. I believe in the beginning, they only were going to allow 3 missed school days. That's been increased to 5, and now I think it's up to 6. So we are meeting the days that TA is providing to us. Prior to the winter event that began on Monday the 15th, we did contact TEA, their waiver division, and asked them about the Thursday, Friday for some of our campuses that were impacted by the weather, if those could be included. And they did let us know that the Friday could be identified as a missed school day because asynchronous instruction wasn't provided. But the Thursday before that, we would have had to provide asynchronous instruction in order to claim the other waiver. And so because it was still early, we didn't know this event was coming, we just closed 2 of our campuses on that day due to weather. So there was no remote instruction provided. So those have to be maintained as a closed school day.
And of course, we followed the local ISD in those decisions.
Right, that's true.
The closure, so we were doing this.
And we do have the instructional minutes now built into the calendar. The additional 5 minutes are actually 10 minutes each day for our campuses. So that should be covered in those days. For Fort Worth, I believe Colleen will still have to provide a makeup day, because they have missed quite a few days because of all the issues that have occurred in Killeen with the weather and other issues. But other than that, that's the other school day waiver and the missed school day waiver. There's a note on attendance as far as what CSS has told us. And the other days, there is nothing that needs to be done. The coding of the students' attendance as RA is all that they need. The missed school day waiver, they're going to just delete those instructional days from the calendar. And so once that's done, which I believe it's already been done, attendance won't be required for those days. So after the board approves the other and missed school day waivers, then we have to submit the waivers in the TEAL application to TEA. And they do require, I guess, documentation for each area that we serve as far as the events that occurred. And so Mr. LaRose did compile that information for us, and we're going to use that to file the waivers soon after this board meeting is over with.
And the waiver does require a board resolution in order for us to submit along
Yes.
with the waiver request. So
Yes.
that's why we're bringing the resolution. Any questions from the board?
Only thing I have to say is that once we start, we see the days that we've been authorized to close. I have no, that we consider, I'm still back at this whole harmless in the school first, that we make sure that we're doing all of that together to make sure that it's in sync so that we won't be losing out funds because of all of this.
Mhm.
I'd like to make sure that we're keeping our pulse on all three of those at the same time.
Understood.
Is there any additional discussion? If not, the chair would entertain a motion.
Ernest Chambers, I move that the board approve the resolution authorizing the superintendent or his designee to submit TEA waivers as needed for its respective campuses.
I'll second that motion. Francis White,
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Rose Thompson, yes.
Mike Peoples, yes.
Francis White, yes.
Ernest Chambers, yes.
And I also vote yes, so the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. It is now 2:01 p.m. and the board will recess into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Initially, the board will meet alone and I will signify I will text Becky when we would like for Mr. Anderson to come in. So can you put us back in the breakout room, please? Becky?
Yes, ma'am. Everybody will start receiving messages here within the next few seconds.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have to have our mics on at this point?
I see you, Rose, but I'm not seeing anything but what we were in the other session. We have not in the breakout room yet, I don't think. Can you hear
No.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, but I still see the agenda on my screen and something in the corner.
Right, that's the same thing I'm seeing. Plus
Okay,
Mike and Betsy.
Board, are y'all not seeing an opportunity to go into closed session?
I still see the
No.
agenda. I still see the agenda on my screen, Becky.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Oh, well, let me see. Do we have to leave the first one and then go into the breakout? That's probably what's going on. Becky,
Oh, wow, it's not working. Okay, okay, I'm
are we
sorry. I
supposed
don't,
to leave the regular session to get into the breakout? Because I think we still have to leave the breakout.
oh,
Leave the
give me
regular
one
session.
second. I think I know what it is. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Are y'all
so-
getting messages now? What? Maybe. Okay, awesome.
Year term will be Donald Nemec. The next regular board meeting will be Thursday, May 20th, 2000.
Ms. Bender, may I ask one
Yes.
quick question? Who will notify these gentlemen of their appointment to the board? Will it be Becky's responsibility, or will someone from the board take that responsibility?
I will do that,
Okay.
but Becky will need to also coordinate because of the fingerprinting requirement and the application requirement. But I'll let her know when I've made that contact. Okay.
Okay.
The next regular board meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m. Thursday, May 20th, 2021, and it will be held virtually. The last item on the agenda is Ms. Rojas. Have we had any public comments submitted during the course of the meeting?
No, Ms. Bender, we have not, but I do believe Ms. Tammy Padilla was hoping to update on some information that was discussed during the board meeting. Would that be okay at this time?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I had the opportunity to look up the American Rescue Plan Act that was discussed involved with the PPP program application. And that American Rescue Plan Act includes the PPP program, as well as a venue operations grant and an EIDL grant. And so we are currently within that act applying for the PPP loan. The only other thing that I think we might be able to qualify for would be the EIDL grant. but that is an actual loan requiring reimbursement at this time. They are not waiving the reimbursement for that. So we chose the PPP program to apply for those funds within that American Rescue Plan Act.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 2:53 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, and have a good day.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.